Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy 2022. We're so happy to be here with you. Hi, Susheela. How are you?
I am good. I'm looking forward to 22.
Me too. Me too, definitely. Um, 2021 was a year that really tested us. It tested how willing we are to commit to a new path. It really tested us saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to relate differently. I'm going to go on this new path. I'm going to do a new career, whatever it was. And then it really set the tone for, okay, how committed are you? What are your intentions? Is it the same intentions? No, not those intentions. What are the new intentions? What is genuine to you? And so it was like this dance, this back and forth dance, that in the middle of it, we had our moments, we had our breakdowns, we had our celebrations, we had all of those things. And we're at the end of 2021, going into 2022 saying, yeah, it's clear. I need to do life differently. These ways, these traditional ways that I've been taught to live my life, they just don't make sense anymore. It just doesn't fit anymore. Not only does it not fit in society, it doesn't fit with who I am now.
Yeah, I think there was, prioritizing, reprioritizing, reprioritizing because of the need to readapt continuously, reinvent, readapt. Who's on my side? Who's in my circle? And then you bring people in your circle and it's like, red flags, it's like red flags there. Oh, something I didn't address. And as we've been doing this since September, the two of us,
right?
There's that progression too of all that karmic stuff that people weren't dealing with. So it's like we're reprioritizing and readapting for the 8,000th time. It feels and then you're faced with something and then you think like, did I really, am I really here? Is it really time? It's like you're standing at the door with the key and it's like, is this really where I'm going now? And you look back and that's feels where we are right now. We're at this threshold. I don't want to say a precipice. We're at a threshold from going through the door.
That's such a great way of putting it. It's such a great way of putting it, because I think exactly what you said, for the last couple of months, we've almost been like in disbelief of, do I really have to do life differently? Like, do I really have to completely change my MO in everything?
Yeah, didn't we just do that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Which really puts into perspective the work that we do, right? Everyone talks about the work. And it really puts into perspective that just because we cognitively understand something, we can rationalize it. We can say, yes, 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't mean that our system has adapted. And so in order for us to truly adapt to a new system, there has to be some form of trial and error. And the thing is that because of the way we're conditioned, we look down upon that trial and error. Yeah. Like we're supposed to live life just knowing what to do all the time. And that's not where we're at. And I think that was probably one of the bigger pains of 2021, the sense of, I feel, in our very human way, I feel dumb, I feel worthless. Why can't I get this right? It's like, no. We're entering a time in which we're reframing how we've done our lives the entire time.
Yeah.
And that was 1 year. And here we are coming into the next one. It feels more soothing if we're much more supported cosmically, but we have to be willing to trust that cosmic support. Yeah. Otherwise, we're just going to get in our own way.
Well, and that creativity component is all about the feminine energy. It's the receptive energy. It's the less doing, going, and more receiving. And in that receiving side of things, in that receptive way of being, it's not this linear on, off, yes, no, right, wrong. It's
Right.
oh, well, what happens if I poke the fire? Oh, that's what happens. Okay. That's not a mistake. It's kind of thing. And so,
Mhm.
that I think is a nice little transition into your first aspect, which we did talk about last month, but the Jupiter in Pisces that's happening. So that'll carry us into 2022 quite nicely, quite interestingly, in a very fluid, creative sort of way.
Absolutely. And so Jupiter moves into the sign of Pisces December 28th or 29th, depending on where you live. But come January 1st, Jupiter will be in Pisces. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, optimism, is the planet that lets us know there's always another way. Look beyond the horizon. There are other solutions beyond what you know. Jupiter rules Pisces. So it's a very lovely aspect. Pisces is the sign of let go, let God. Allow your creativity to flow. Trust that you're being guided by spirit, universe, something of wisdom within. And you can include all of your human qualities that are absolutely necessary to co-create with the universe. And so Jupiter is going to transit Pisces again from December 28th or 29th through May 30th. And then from May to October, we're going to experience Jupiter in Aries. And then in October, Jupiter will come back to Pisces and end its transit at the end of December 2022. So our focus right now is the first 5 months of the year. And what Jupiter in Pisces is going to do, especially in January, it's that it's really going to allow us to let go of still these belief systems and structures that we're finding such a hard time letting go of, and really just flowing with it and being okay with it and just trusting that finally I've come to this point where I can finally let this go.
So we've got a lot of cups here for this, which makes sense because Pisces is a water sign. Cups are the things that hold water. They hold your emotions, your creativity, the things that sustain and nurture you. So the first card I got for this, because it's a big celestial movement here. So it's going to be 5 months, as you said. So there is this communal aspect. It's about celebration, and sort of being with your people, finding your people and the collective, whatever that is. It could be small, it could be big, but on some level, that's what that is. And the Queen of Cups, that is actually the Pisces card. So this card is like the Empress of the minor arcana.
Okay.
Is all about intuition, love, like the depths of love, like you've never seen, intuition, nurturing, creativity, all those kind of things. And it's like in a motherly kind of fashion. So that's we've got going on. And then we've got the Six of Cups, which is this feeling of nostalgia. And it can also be things from the past that show up again. And unlike the things from the past that we were experiencing over the last several months, this is more like maybe those things that you weren't ready for showing up. And you got introduced to something, but it wasn't the right time. The universe kind of put this little notice saying, like, here's a little sticky note of the thing that you're working towards. We can't have it yet. And then it revisits later on.
That's such a good point, that revisiting. because we did experience a short transit of Jupiter and Pisces between May and July of 2021. It went up to 2 degrees Pisces. And in that time, we got a taste for what Jupiter and Pisces is going to be about, especially the first 5 months.
Mhm.
So think about the themes: creativity, intuition, dream work, writing, anything creative that allows you to connect with a different part of yourself that isn't necessarily fully rational. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Those all of those exercises that we do to connect with a different part of ourselves, to reduce anxiety, to just bring us to a sense of calm, that energy is going to be there for us almost all year. But like I mentioned earlier, we have to be willing to lean into it and get out of our own way, because this energy isn't transiting just because. It's meant to help us, but we have to allow it.
And it is really in that practical way. And I know you'll get into the Capricorn component, which is the very practical sign. We've got Capricorn all over the place here, and Taurus too. But that that creativity, when we're in that yin energy, it's not about, we're not supposed to be doing the things like, I need to go and be creative now. That kind of, I need to do my yoga and I need to meditate. It doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
It's the how you're doing it that's the most important part. You can do the allowing and the creative process and the channeling and the everything else from that receptive point, that perspective. I won't even say point of view, but from this perspective. And so it doesn't matter what it is at this point. If you're going to sit and go like, I need to meditate.
Right.
Be like, there, I did my creative thing, I'm going to meditate.
Exactly.
No, it's like, even if your mind wanders and you can't focus, it doesn't matter. It's the energy that you're doing it in that matters.
The intention. If there is anything that 2021 was about, was the cosmos asking us, what is your intention behind what you do? And is this intention saturated with conditioning from the outside world, or is this intention purely and honestly yours, regardless of what it looks like?
Yeah.
And 2022 is going to be the year where we practice this intention of our own, that is a genuine expression of self, regardless of what it looks like, So it's really lovely in that way. We just have to allow it to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it almost sounds funny saying, practice being authentic.
Right. Oh my God, that's so funny. That's so true. So with that said, that's a perfect segue into January 1st. And January 1st, not only obviously is the beginning of the month, it's the beginning of the year. And we begin with a lovely transit. The sun in Capricorn trining Uranus and Taurus. So the sun in Capricorn is saying, approach life in a practical way. Yes, we are spiritual beings, but we are human, and we have to live in this reality, and we have responsibilities to meet, all this stuff. Sun in Capricorn, be practical in your spirituality. A trine to Uranus and Taurus is a really lovely connection because they're both earth signs. Now, Uranus being involved is saying, we're disrupting tradition. We're disrupting the Taurian comfort. But if you lean into the practicality of yourself, of what you have to meet, you know that you'll always land on your feet. So this connection is saying, dare to go after the thing. Dare to be different. The universe favors the bold. And so because it's a trine, the universe is saying, we're here to support you if you take action. Trines are meant to support, not to catalyze action. They're not uncomfortable enough. But with a trine, the universe is opening up a new year saying, go for it, try it, live and express this authentic new expression of you, and allow it to unfold.
So the cards I got for that are the Hermit. And this is that a little bit of that illumination there. And it's introspection and it's independence. But we've just seen that we've got this Three of Cups energy, which is the collective and the group and the socializing and the support and the happiness. But we've still got this. So it's still about the self and how you see things. And he's, you know, he's looking at his footing. He's not looking off into the distance. He's looking, it's not being short-sighted. It's just looking at what is the immediate, where am I right now? And coinciding with that is the Four of Cups. And frequently this could be interpreted as not being able to see this opportunity. But I think in this case, when it's paired with the Hermit, these are the opportunities or the options that we've always had. And there is this new way. And it's like, I'm not quite ready. Give me another couple of days, another couple of planets moving, and I'll be able to move out of this Hermit mode. And I'm going to take this cup. And that's the Queen of Cups offering the cup. That's the Knight of Cups offering that cup. It's the Ace of Cups, which is, we've got it somewhere in one of these too. It's that beginning of love, heart-focused movement, heart-focused doing in the three-dimensional world.
I love that. And I don't know if you knew this, but the Hermit is one of the symbols that's used for Capricorn energy. Capricorn is known as the hermit of the zodiac. And it needs that solitude. It needs that space to process a lot and to truly make a decision that is aligned with this genuine self. And you have to understand that this genuine self of us that we've dug up in the last 12 months, it's new. We're adjusting. And so, yes, be courageous enough to lean into the new thing, but it's okay if there's some resistance and if you need to go slowly. Both Capricorn and Taurus are earth energies that have absolutely no rush into doing things. Capricorn wants to master, therefore it's willing to go step by step, take its time. And Taurus energy does not like to be rushed.
Yeah, we kind of look at that. That is very Capricorn and Taurus right there.
The crossing of the arms. Yeah.
Nope. I'm not going to look at the new cup. Nope, not yet. Ready? I'm still looking at these three old cups.
Yes. Yes. And so January 2nd brings us with the first new moon of the year. Capricorn energy wasted no time. The cosmos wasted no time. January 2nd, what's your intention? And this new moon is lovely. It really is. It's supported by that trine to Uranus. It's supported by a semi-sextile from Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn rules the sign of Capricorn, currently in Aquarius, and saying, if you commit to yourself, if you commit to this new expression of your life, and you don't have to rush, because usually when we're rushed, we're trying to do things for others. We're trying to do things under the expectations that others have of us. We don't have to do that. We can set intentions that ring true to ourselves and allow them to unfold. Capricorn energy is reminding us to come back to our self-authority. And if our self-authority tells us that we don't want to be rushed, then we don't have to be rushed. But if we make a commitment to ourselves, we do have to steadily and consistently do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that practical aspect that's there throughout everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the sun, which is really funny to me for the new moon.
Right.
Both in the same sign. And then the Knight of Cups that I was just mentioning, there's that offer. So you've had a day to mull it over. Now it's time, there you go. And it's a time of intention setting too. The new moon is that intention setting. So the offer is there. It's like the universe is like, will you just pull the trigger already? Like press the button, like ask your question. I'm standing here with the cup. I'm ready to fill it and give it to you.
Right. And we have to remember that every new moon opens up an energetic portal of 6 months, which is to correspond with that full moon of that new moon. So at some point during Cancer season in July, we're going to have the full moon to this new moon in Capricorn of January 2nd. We have 6 months. This January is, like Susheela said, to set these intentions, but to still be very honest. Do I really want to do this? Is this sustainable over time? And one of the things that Capricorn energy has transformed is I am not going to fill my plate, fill my agenda, fill my calendar with all the things to feel superior simply because I'm overproducing. Not what we're talking about. We're talking about really, again, simple, practical things that matter to us. And how do we commit to that? How do we commit to that from a really honest space within us?
Yeah, and the Knight of Cups is not, it's not the slowest moving knight in the deck, but it's the second slowest. So it's steady. That horse is moving. He's sitting on the horse, unlike the Knight of Pentacles, which is typically somebody pulling the horse. Very slow and steady. And this is, you know, it's genuine. It's this genuine, heartfelt perspective. And then, you know, the funny thing is that we've got the horse there too with the sun, which is, you know, this little guy on the, it's
I see that.
It's full vulnerability and bliss and happiness and everything. And the sun is just there looking pretty calm and pleasant. Like, it's not a wild and crazy sun. It's just like everything's growing, everything's doing what it's supposed to do. And if you say a 6-month period, you know, that's like, it's a culminating feeling. Like, how long does it take something to grow? How long does it take something to move through a cycle? How long does it take to see results? Like,
exactly,
doing something creative at this point, but if you do a little bit every single day, there will be something to show for it.
absolutely. And we have to keep that Jupiter and Pisces in the background in mind. It's always going to be there, and that's going to be our reminder that we are supported, that we are, if we come from a place of integrity and just sheer honesty with ourselves, we're going to be aligned with what is meant for us. That's really Capricorn energy, practicality, and Pisces energy, the ultimate expression of spirituality, earth and water, creating fertile ground and saying, we're finally meeting halfway. Okay. So then we move on to January 8th, which is a really important date. This is when things really begin to get interesting in January. So this is the Sun conjunction to Venus, Venus retrograde in Capricorn. Sun in Capricorn comes together with Venus retrograde. This is known as a Venus star point. A Venus star point exists every time that Venus goes retrograde, and it just represents the middle ground of Venus's retrograde period, coming together with the sun, and everything that we have been mulling over, reconsidering, revisiting, all of the words with the prefix re in it that we have been focusing on since December 19th, which is technically when Venus started retrograde. There's a turning point. Yes, Venus is still retrograde at this time, but the sun illuminates that which we have been thinking about in terms of Venusian terms, which is values, relationships, sense of self-worth. In Capricorn, what are my responsibilities and what are others' responsibilities that I don't need to take on? On this day, the sun illuminates that, and we receive messages. We receive like this knowing of, oh, so everything I've been thinking about, this is when it begins to make sense. This is like when it begins to sit right. This is when we ideally begin to really stick by our new value system that is beginning to fully unfold.
Interestingly, it's called the Venus star point.
Oh my God. Feminine energy, all the stars.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 8 stars?
8 stars. Yeah.
Okay.
It's 1 and 7 makes 8, and it's the 8th, and it's the star. Yeah.
So this Venus star point, anytime there's a Venus star point, anytime there's a Venus star point, it starts an 8-year cycle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just can't make this stuff up. It just happens. And even when you're talking about, you know, earth and water and all that kind of thing too, one of these vessels is being dumped on the soil and the other one is returning to the water. And there's this vulnerability, and that's, you know, being exposed, but in a very natural way. It's not like shunning from this, or, you know. So the other card that we have is the 4 of Wands, and the 4 of Wands is like 1111 also. So it's got that kind of meaning, but it's also that other aspect of Venus, which involves, I know it's a wand card and it's not typically about money and finances, but it's more about the things that finances give you. And it's this foundational aspect, but there's always a celebration connected with this. So it's, you know, are you trying to buy a house? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Is it you're partnering with somebody and you're going to cohabitate? Are you joining forces with somebody? Are you having foundations in your corporation? Are you buying a house? Are you all of that kind of stuff? And it's really pleasant. Like, look at them. They're like, you know, woohoo, we got the bouquets, we got the thing, you know, whatever it is, whatever they're holding, they look quite exuberant. And then we've got this structure. And so there's always like some aspect to home or grounding. There's a grounding element, even though wands are about fire. It's fire energy. It's never depicted that way. Yeah.
Yes, Venus in Capricorn is all about the value system that we uphold in every single way. And Venus connecting with Pluto throughout her retrograde period has been about transforming. Sorry, my dog is, 1 second. He heard something. Venus connecting with Pluto has been about transforming those fundamental structures that we have been taught and that we have never questioned before. And now we're finally questioning them and asking ourselves, does this ring true to me and where I am now in my life? It's not a surprise that people have switched jobs, that people have sold their big homes and reduced their lives, because they're like, I don't need all of this stuff. I don't need to be married to show someone how much I care about them and to be committed to them. I don't need to work for a corporation to be looked at or with respect, right? Value systems, and we're going to see them. So January 10th, we have the Sun sextile Neptune. This is a lovely day. On the one hand, the Sun coming together with Neptune, again, Sun in Capricorn, practical. Neptune in Pisces, creativity. Earth, water, together, fertile ground. Creativity, intuition, just ideas with a group. How can we make this idea real? Different perspectives. Lovely day for brainstorming and things like that. Lovely day for brainstorming. On the other hand, understand, you really need to lean into the practicality of Capricorn, because this can represent seeing life through rose-colored glasses or not seeing things clearly. When we're being creative and we see our creativity through rose-colored glasses, lovely, lovely. It's like a blank canvas. And all of these beautiful ideas are coming and we're painting from that. But there's a bit of distortion in that. But it's coming from a different place. Now, when we look at life through rose-colored glasses, when it comes to interaction, certain situations, there's a bit of distortion. But What do we know for a fact in these interactions? Are we trying to make excuses for things that just haven't worked out? And remember, just a few days ago, Venus came together with the sun. There was something that was illuminated, something that was made clear. And now the sun coming together with Neptune is like, are we still trying to find excuses for something that we just know can no longer continue? So those are two different potential manifestations of that energy.
Mm-hmm. And I've got 3 cards for this. So we've got the moon, which is about, it's about all those things that you just said, really. Illusions, deep emotions, something becoming illuminated,
Mm-hmm.
all mixed up in there. And in a way, our perception is always distorted in some form or fashion. I mean, it's distorted in positive and negative ways, I guess,
Right.
because it's a perspective.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
Looking at something, we're looking at it, so we have a perspective. If we're looking at a rock, the only true, I guess, analysis of it is if we were the rock.
That's such a good point. Yes.
Who knows? But we also have this 10 of Pentacles, which carries over. This is the practical, but this is like long-term practical, far-reaching in both directions on this linear 3D plane.
Right.
It's our hereditary, all those values, and it can be hereditary money as well. You inherit something, your traits that you've inherited, your finances that you've inherited, a family home you've inherited, quirks that you've inherited, your good looks that you've inherited, whatever it is.
Right.
That's all there. But it's also the practical skills that you at this moment have to deal with. So if you are trying to create a legacy, and I'll put that in quotation marks, like whatever that means to you, it's not
Right.
everybody is trying to be, a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy, that mark, that to say that you've been here, you had a purpose, your life had meaning, whatever that is. This is where these two things are sort of coming together, like this very practical aspect of it, handling your finances, doing all that stuff, doing your day-to-day. What do you call being a success? Getting through every day consistently, I would say you're successful.
Right.
And then all of this illusion and illumination. Like when we were dealing with the new moon, I got the sun card, which was funny because they're both in Capricorn. And now we're talking about this, and we're talking about illusions. We have the sun and the moon together, and it's the moon card. And in the middle of these two, we have strength. And there's a nice little infinity symbol there. And there's usually a lamb and a lion combined. Different cards, different decks have slightly different variations of that. But it's the ability to have the strength. It's not strength that's coming from outside that you don't know what to do with. It's not like a lion is raging through your life. It's like you have the ability to access this inner lion. So you have the strength, and it's infinite.
Right.
You will
Right.
always, it's replenishing. You're talking about all the words. It's replenishing. Your strength replenishes. We never thought we'd be able to do this again.
Yes.
For a reason. There's some big reason that we chose to be here at this time.
That limitlessness, that energy of limitlessness is very, very much Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces is absolute limitlessness. It's boundless.
Mm.
So when we think about that in a way of creativity, I can genuinely create anything that I consistently do.
Yeah.
Now, when we just lean into just Neptune and Pisces, there are no boundaries. It is limitless. So it's about finding the balance between those two things. And again, co-creating with that.
Mm-hmm.
So then on January 11th, we have Mars square Neptune. On the one hand, Mars This is Mars in Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces. So Mars wants, especially in Sagittarius, Mars is fire energy, Sagittarius is fire energy. We want to move forward. We want to do big things now. We want to just go. The square to Neptune in Pisces is great enthusiasm. Awesome. You're just not seeing the whole picture yet. Mm-hmm. And so if you can, on the one hand, maintain that enthusiasm and use it on a daily basis with Capricorn energy in a consistent way, then there's expansion of creativity, Neptune and Pisces. You don't need to see the full clear picture, and that's okay. But if you're trying to force something to happen before it can happen, and you don't see the clear road ahead, you're gonna end up crashing and burning. Mm-hmm. That's what's gonna happen. Now, on the other hand, because Mars is involved, this definitely has to do with relationships. Mars is the masculine energy. It's the counterpart to feminine energy. Mars in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a lovely sign that can talk. It's a storyteller, right? Lovely storyteller. It has stories from all around the world. And Mars does them quickly. Neptune and Pisces squaring that is someone may not be telling you the complete truth, and perhaps not from a bad place, not ill-intentioned, but just understand that there's something there that's just not clear yet. And again, because just a few days prior, Venus had that conjunction to the sun, we're still allowing this clarity to unfold. That which the sun illuminated on Venus, Mars's counterpart, is still unfolding. Mm-hmm. And Mars wants to move fast. And Neptune is saying, the road is not clear yet. Can you just give it time and allow it to come when it will? Can you trust in a very Piscean way?
Yeah, and it's funny because the two cards that I have are very opposite of each other. And there is an aspect of that, what you're talking about, where it's almost like a self-imposed not looking at something as well. And so the card that I have for that is, the Eight of Swords. And here you can't tell as much, but it's typically, she could really shimmy her elbows and get out of that. This is not like, it's not so restrictive, but it is restrictive based on where she's positioned herself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that Four of Cups energy of the guy sitting under the tree with his arms folded. Like, I'm not looking at that. I'm not ready to look at the cup. I'm going to look over at these cups. It's a little bit of that. It's like, but there's restrictions, but I'm restricted. But aren't there restrictions? But I can't see all the things. I don't want to see all the things. And everything is like, it's a little cloudy. It's clear on the horizon, but she can't see that yet. Contrast that. So that's the very Mars feeling, that very, and then the Ace of Cups, which is the beginning of love, and it's water and the Neptune energy, going from feeling with the heart, all that. So this is like very kind of rigid. Yes, no, I don't want to look at it. No, I'm not ready to see it. No, I can't. No, but it's not supposed to. No, but we don't, but we've never. Yeah. And then we've always done it this way. Right. Good answer.
Right.
This is all about the heart. This is also new love. This is going from that place of, maybe there should be a few illusions put back in, and then also, like you say, beware of some of those deceptions that are coming forward. And they're probably not intentional, because I don't have anything around even before or after that shows that somebody's trying to be manipulative or deceptive. It's just kind of the way it is. It's like when it's foggy, you can't really see.
Right.
Like
Right.
if somebody's doing this in their life, it's very hard to do this.
Right. Right. Which is, and again, we have to remember that we're still in Capricorn season. So if you are trying to rush something because you got this download from Venus conjuncting the sun a few days before, if you are trying to rush something, why? Why, when you know that that which is meant for you will not pass you? And especially if it comes to relationships, I think this week is going to highlight a lot of relationships. And so why try to rush something? If it's not meant for you, why would you want it?
Well, yeah, and it's like it's kind of like, you know, your certain things you can take out before they're ready, but not most things. But we do that with other things. Like if you were baking a cake, you could take it out at 25 minutes, but the inside would be liquidy batter.
Right.
And that wouldn't be nice. You wouldn't be, you know, you could eat it if you wanted to, but it's not ready. Like, why don't you just wait for it to be ready? It takes the time it takes. Like,
Right.
do it with a cake.
Absolutely. So that takes us into January 14th. As we're talking about, just take it easy. It'll come, it'll unfold. Mercury begins its retrograde period from 10 degrees Aquarius and will remain retrograde till February 3rd or 4th, again, depending on your time zone. And it will retrograde back to 24 degrees Capricorn. So let's say, especially because those days I feel, again, have a lot to do with relationships. So we'll continue with that example. You got an illumination, you got an idea, you got a download. This is where we are in the relationship. And Mars wants to move fast. If we move in together, things will be fixed. And it's like Mercury comes and says, in Aquarius, and says, that's great. You two have an aspiration to move in together, to do the things together, whatever that means. But Mercury slowing down and going back to Capricorn is saying, we have this aspiration, we have this dream, we know we want to be together, but let's slow it down and be very real about this. Can we afford it? When do we sign a lease? Where do we want to live? What are our expenses? Where are we in our lives? So it's about approaching the things that we want to do from a very honest place, from a much more genuine expression of where we are now, but not forgetting to be adults about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mercury retrograde, going from an air sign to an earth sign, is saying, you have an aspiration. How do you make it practical and real? How does it come from a place of integrity and something that is aligned with you and not saturated by others' conditioning?
Yeah, and it's funny too that you said certain buzzwords there about maturity and you know, paperwork and leases and whatever, because 2 cards that I have for this are pages.
Interesting.
Are immature energy. They're also youthful energy. It doesn't have to be immature in a negative sense.
Right.
They don't have that. They don't have the years of wisdom behind them. They're more youthful, carefree, missing some information that you would have with a knight or a king or a queen or something of a higher level. So the Page of Pentacles, this is all about paperwork. So the pages are also messengers of things, whereas the knights are channels of things. So Mercury, when we think about Mercury in general, it's the winged messenger. And so all communication, when it goes retrograde, it's, you know, communications and technology and all of those things. But in Capricorn, it's really about these practical things. And so it's about watching. You're not able to see as quickly or as readily with those mature eyes. So it's the it's the more impulsive, youthful, whatever, the lack of wisdom, I guess. And so it takes a little longer.
Mhm.
It's the warning sign of double check, triple check, get somebody else to double and triple check. Go,
Right.
don't read it today, go reread it again tomorrow, and then sign another day later. Though if you have to, you know, it's all that kind of thing. And then the other one, and I laugh about this card. I won't say too much about it here, but it's the Page of Wands, and he's just, you know, looking at this wand like it's the most magnificent thing.
Right.
It just makes me laugh. But you know, he's very flamboyant. It's this oh, like you said, like, oh, we should be doing this, we should, you know, all of these kind of enthusiastic ways. And it's like, no, 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 you're not. Just go sit in the corner for a moment, you know. And that's it. It's like maybe not looking at something with the right lens at this point, or maybe not even the right interpretation. Like, you know, it's this, they're both sort of admiring the suit that they represent in a way, or it could be coveting the thing that represents.
Right.
You know, do we want to be coveting those things? Should we, is that the right energy? And that is that immature kind of energy behind something, is to covet something, as opposed to, does this really feed my heart, or is this a really practical thing? But coveting is like, you know, when you're a kid and you just want to eat candy because, you know, whereas when you're older, you're like, well, I can have candy, but I'm not going to just go eat a whole pile of candy. It's that kind of energy to me.
It's healthy limitations.
Yeah.
Which is or healthy boundaries, which is exactly what Capricorn represents. And we have to keep in mind that when Mercury goes retrograde, Venus is still retrograde.
Yeah.
So there's still an unfolding of these things. There's still a coming to full clarity about these things. And so keeping that in mind. And I think that we've been talking about this, and I've also been talking about this on my own. We have to get clear about what our priorities are in our lives at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And from that space, lead life. So it doesn't have to be big or grandiose. It just has to be us.
Yeah.
I love what you said about coveting.
Well, and I think too that Mercury going retrograde and Venus going retrograde, there's that overlapping. And so it's like, if you don't have to sign on the dotted line in that time, really, it's not just, we always say that with Mercury retrograde to try and hold off on certain things, but with those two together, because Venus does also rule those areas of finances and other things. And then it's that everything sort of sits in this priority, you know, our personal priorities and our values, but it's our value also, our self-worth, all of that is all intertwined. And so with that sort of illusory stuff, fog going around everything and sort of weaving its way through everything and every aspect of our lives, what we're thinking might not actually be what is real. And so even rereading something 3 times and rereading it 3 days later, it just might not be applicable later. So there is, if you can sort of hold off, I would say hold off a little longer.
Right. Absolutely. And so it's just about understanding that the internal adult, the mature adult, right, is willing to wait and is okay with waiting. So just one more thing, there's a quote that just stands out to me. It has stood out to me recently, is those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait and wait without anxiety. So
Mhm.
we'll go back to the example of relationships. We know we're going to be together. We know we're going to do the things together. All right, let's take it slowly. We're committed to each other.
Mhm.
There's no need to rush into anything. And of course, you can apply that to anything that's happening in your life that you know with certainty you're going to lean into, you're going to do, but
Yeah.
you're not going to do it with anxiety, which is what you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
What is the energy behind, like, I have to meditate now? you're just defeating the purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's funny too, I think, with you know, when you're saying rushing into a commitment or rushing into something like that, if it is, then it will be next week and it will be 3 weeks from now.
Right.
It's not like a job posting that you have to apply within a certain amount of time. You know, you
Right.
not procrastinate.
Right.
Talking about that, it's not like, oh, just leave everything and don't do the thing. You know, do the things that you're supposed to do. There's a 2-week period to apply for a job, apply for the job, double triple check it, whatever, send
Yeah.
it off in the allotted time. But for other things that don't have a deadline, there's no need to create one.
Right. Yes. Yes. So well put. So on January 16th, we have the sun come together with Pluto, sun conjunction Pluto in Capricorn at 26 degrees. I feel that we are going to feel this aspect much more collectively, and the sun illuminates. Pluto is the shadow. The sun is going to illuminate shadow on what? I think institutions. Why? Because Capricorn represents institutions in the status quo and all of the stuff that has been crumbling down in the last 2 years because the systems no longer work. And so the sun coming together with Pluto, this is like surprising news again. It's shining a light. Stuff is gonna come up. Corruption, I can already see it. You know, on a personal level, we understand that what happens in the collective inevitably affects us. So, with what we know, with these institutions that we rely on in some way, shape, or form, how do we take our power back? Because at the end of the day, the sun represents us, our ego, our presence, our vitality, how we show up to life. And Pluto in Capricorn is saying, remember your self authority. This is coming into power, personal power. How do we stand on that? Now, let's say that you see something on the news, you're like, that's nothing new. We're still at a point in which we're acknowledging our power within. We're still at a point in which we're coming to, this definitely can represent like another shining light of a part of our shadow that keeps coming up, and acknowledging it and saying, okay, I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm not afraid of this part of me anymore. And I don't have to identify with that part of myself anymore. Does it exist within me? Absolutely. Am I going to let it take the wheel and drive my life? Absolutely not. I'm taking my power back because I have free will. And that's extremely powerful.
And you were saying also that for the US,
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I mean, I live in Canada, but I mean, we're hugely impacted everywhere, you know, in the Western world is really impacted by what happens in the United States, whether
Yes. And
friend wise or whatever. So
yes. So thank you for bringing that up, because in January, the United States is going to have its Pluto return. And you have to understand that Pluto takes over 200 years to come full circle in the zodiac because of how long its transits are. That means that the United States has not had a Pluto return since its inception. Pluto is going to highlight a lot of the shadow from which the US has been functioning from. And it's going to happen around this time. I can't remember the exact date, but it's going to happen around this time.
yeah.
This is what I mean when I say we're going to see a lot of things fundamentally in the institutions that we rely on, that we're going to say, what the F are they doing, right? And structurally speaking, this is really the beginning of a massive transformation for the US and its, bordering countries. And so because Venus is still retrograde, and on a collective level, Venus represents finances, the stock market, because Venus rules Taurus. And we're going to have so much action in Taurus. It represents a limitation, a potential limitation, because of Capricorn, in income, because of business, because of Venus. So it's a lot of these things happening around the world. How do we come back to ourselves, to our talents, to our nature, and become resourceful from within?
Yeah. And so the card I have for that really is it's interesting because it's the Chariot, and in this deck is not depicted in the way it's frequently depicted. There's always a dark and a light aspect. And it's usually two horses, but in this case, it's these two sphinxes, if that's the plural.
Sphinxi.
So anyway, they are, there's something very, when I think of the Chariot, I think of the Roman Empire. And it's that, you think of films and things like that, of chariot races and all that sort of thing. But there's the darkness and the light, and there's this ancient wisdom, and the Chariot is about divine timing. And we've got all these stars in the background, and there's this illumination behind, and it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. He looks like he's more standing on a podium than in a chariot in this case. And that star, that 8-pointed star, is there right in the middle of his forehead, and he's got all his armor on, and he's standing firm. It doesn't look like there's any action at all. So typically the Chariot is about, there's nothing you can do to speed up or slow down things. It's about going with the flow and just steering, sitting up high so you can navigate. And that's the message. And the dark and the light and the illumination, and stand firm, put your armor on. He's not in fear. He's ready. He's, standing at the forefront of everything, but he's protected. He's on guard. He's got all the stuff happening. And I find the symbolism of this really funny for what you've just mentioned. It's, yeah, I can't, I'm not even going to say anything else about that.
Yeah.
And then we've got,
that's beautiful.
And the World is really the most powerful card in the deck, because it's the universe, it's everything, it's the unlimited possibilities. We've got this, the way this is wrapped around, it's actually the infinity symbol. You just can't see what's behind it.
Oh, okay.
Two places, right? If you were to wrap that around, if you were to take out this wreath, you would see that it's shaped like an infinity symbol. So it's everything, all the elements, strength, power, heaven, earth, you name it, unlimited potential. And so having these two cards together is really potent, because it's really about divine timing. It's really about fate coming in, destiny. What is the big purpose to everything? You play a small part, and you have your purpose. You chose to come here, and that could be purpose enough. But there's like some big stuff happening, and it's not like the Tower yet. I think we have the, yeah, we have it. We have the Tower somewhere in the month, but this isn't that. This is like, stand back and watch what's going to happen. And it's not negative, though. That's the thing. It's not negative.
It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. And I love that the card of the World, because it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
So whatever the Sun-Pluto conjunction brings about along the same time that the United States is going to have its Pluto return. It's all to create balance.
I'm finding this funny. I'm just noticing there's a big eagle here. And then we've got all these stars. I mean, this is, and then these stripes. I mean, it's very,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love how you mentioned Rome. So I want to make clear, I'm not a collective astrologer. Like that's not my specialty. There is a specialty of astrologers who actually analyze the charts of different countries.
Yeah.
But because I have been listening to what the astrology community has been talking about this, and I just look at the chart and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's important. Because I think that one of the things that the cosmos have been like yelling at us the last 2 years is recognize how much more connected you are than not.
Yeah.
Recognize that. But that at an individual level, you have to take ownership of your authority. And from that place, create a much more powerful collective that is not divisive. But in order for that to happen, certain institutions need to fall. So January 17th brings us to the full moon in Cancer. This Sun-Pluto conjunction obviously just happened the day before, so it's an aspect of this full moon. This full moon is in Cancer at 27 degrees Cancer. This is a full moon, and the moon, it's in its home sign of Cancer. Mm-hmm. Full moons are emotional anyway, and they're lunar events anyway, and they're events that bring things to the surface. This is going to be that. The moon is in its home sign. The moon and Cancer represent home. Mm-hmm. This is the moon in Cancer. This is the sun in conjunction to Pluto. What we consider home is still being redefined. Yeah. And it's definitely going to be redefined after this full moon, because of the crumbling of something much bigger.
Okay, so we've got, this is so unpleasant looking,
yeah.
To put it mildly. So it's not comfortable, but it's the 10, which means it's the end. It's the end of it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. You're already, you're dead. It's done. Mm-hmm. Can't get more dead. All right. The 10th sword is just for the sake of, well, I've got one more sword here. What shall I do with it? Might stick it in that guy over there. Might as well. That's what it is. Right. So there's nothing else except restarting. And when you talk about home, and this again, with lots of Capricorn energy happening, but we've, the king of discs is all the earth signs. It's the king of all the earth signs. And this happens. We go to the depths of our emotions, Cancer, moon, Cancer, whatever. I mean, even in the tarot card of the moon, if there's a crab coming out of the water representing Cancer. So everywhere you look, it's like a double whammy, loads of emotion. And it's the thing that's closest to the planet. So it affects us. It pulls entire bodies of water back and forth. It's going to pull us for sure. And yeah, you're going to feel a little like that. Well, it's kind of a little, you know, but then there's this guy, and he's again that practical king. So as you come out of it, okay, so that's the negative side of that, going to those depths of like whatever, and then you have a good cry and you come out of it and you're like, this is this benevolent king. There's growth here, there's prosperity, there's abundance. It's like, good, you purged a little bit more. That's fantastic. And what would you like? And so he does that. He's solid. He's like a father or grandfather, that strong, stable, works with his hands kind of energy. Mm-hmm. And that's what you can draw on. And everything so far keeps talking about, fate and destiny and timing and feeling and putting things in the right place and all that sort of thing. So as a warning, you will feel like this, but that's the end of it. And then you go back and take comfort in this.
Absolutely. It's the balance of Cancer and Capricorn energy.
Mm-hmm.
The cosmos aren't telling us that we're not allowed to feel. We're absolutely allowed to feel, but we're also supposed to come back to the reality of how things are. And thank goodness for Capricorn energy, because it tells us there's room for both. Let's take it one step at a time, but let's keep moving, right?
Yeah.
So after this full moon, on January 18th, Uranus goes direct in Taurus. And Uranus at this point has been retrograde 5 months. Uranus has been the disruption of tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And in its retrograde period, it's been slowing down, thankfully, and saying, this no longer works, so you're going to have to leave it behind. This no longer works, so you're going to have to leave it behind, and so on and so forth. Go direct. It's like you're on to say, remember all those things I told you were going to have to leave behind? I don't know if you thought I was joking or not, but I wasn't. And so here we go. How interesting that Uranus goes direct after this very interesting middle period of the month, where certain things are going to crumble down. And Uranus is going to say, remember, the traditional was no longer going to work. This is why. And now we're moving in a different direction, whether you realize it or not, or whether you like to or not. So we have to keep in mind that Uranus is what we call a transpersonal planet, along with Pluto. These planets speak more of the collective than they do of personal astrology. So in our individual lives, how Uranus and Taurus has represented itself is, for instance, I don't want to work for a corporation 50 hours a week anymore, just because that's what I was told. So Taurus, what are your innate talents? What do you know how to do with your hands, right? What you said, Capricorn energy, earth energy, Taurus, earth energy. How do you revert back to self? And if you don't know how to do things like that, that's not how you work. This is about getting creative of, I probably need to do something else. And that's okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when you think of, no kid in elementary school, when asked, what do you want to be when you grow up, said, I want to be in middle management. Nobody ever said that.
Right.
Nobody has ever said that. I mean, I would bet money on the fact
in middle management.
All the glitz, all the glory, just me and a number, nobody's done that. So it's interesting that we have this, again, very earth energy, the Six of Pentacles. And the sixes are all about balance or coming back into balance. Mm-hmm. And in this one, he's holding scales. There's two people here sort of begging. He's not looking at this guy. He's handing a bunch of coins or beads or pebbles or something to this guy. And even the way the coins are distributed, they're not equal. There's nothing symmetrical about this card, but it is about equal give and take. Mm-hmm. And so it's about reciprocity. And so when you go back to, there's been a lot of this feeling of divine timing and purpose and fate and destiny all wrapped up in this month. There's also this feeling about divine reciprocity also. So you put effort into your little thing, whatever it is, on that practical level. You get up, whoop, check, I got up today. You did whatever, you had a coffee, you made your bed, you took a shower, whatever. These are little things that make you successful in your day. And you do however many successful little things in a day, day after day, you're successful for a week. And you do them for a month, you're successful for a month, you do them for a year, and so on. And so you do that with that energy of not, oh my God, I'm lying there with 10 swords in my back. This this guy shows up and says, come on now, take those swords out of your back. We got stuff to do. And you know, all right, you know, and this is what happens. The universe starts paying you back equally for it. And I say the universe because this is how it works. It's not, this guy did this for me, and so I give that to him. He's doing that for me. I'm doing this for somebody else. Something else wonderful happened. And it all makes its way in this very, it's the way money works right now. We're not trading 3 chickens for a goat or whatever, or
Right.
3 goats for a spouse, or I've been told
Right.
a little bit more than that these days. But anyway, you know, it's not this direct exchange. It's like we have this thing called money, and we buy something with it because we're not trading directly with that whoever for that product. And so it's like that on an energetic level. That's what we're doing. It doesn't have to be money. It's just that value system of energy, to realize that we are actually attending to all these little practical matters, and all those little practical matters are a reflection of our inner self and our inner purpose, and what makes us tick and what makes us unique and interesting, while still being connected to all that is, and it all comes back. So
Right.
yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned value, because it's Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of value. Venus is still retrograde. Venus rules Taurus. It's about redefining what we value. And so watching these institutions, or these, you know, these things that we held up here crumble down, we realize they've told us how to live our lives. We've built our lives around them, and now they're crumbling down. Where does that leave us? It brings us back to ourselves, which is essentially all we've been talking about the entire year. That's been the point. So on January 23rd, which is about 5 days after Uranus going direct, the sun retrograde, still in Aquarius, comes together with the sun now in Aquarius during its retrograde period. So it's a Sun-Mercury conjunction while Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius. This is called an inferior conjunction. It happens every single Mercury retrograde period, and it's usually the midway point of that Mercury retrograde period. So, really practical tip: if you've been waiting for the Mercury retrograde period to pass, because you can, and you have that kind of freedom and time, and then you get to a point where it's like, I cannot wait anymore. Anytime we have an inferior conjunction, it's a safe bet that from that point forward, you can begin doing things even though Mercury is still in its retrograde phase. You still want to double, triple check. You still want to do all the things, but because the sun illuminates, Mercury illuminates a message that we have been waiting for, it's a safer time. Now, keep in mind, this is the sun illuminating in Aquarius, and Aquarius represents the inner genius, these out-of-the-box ideas. It's exciting. And chances are that we're going to have to think outside the box depending on what happens around us. So I have this idea. It's outside the box. Remember, Mercury is going to retrograde from Aquarius back to Capricorn. And that's the cosmos saying, awesome, this is what we've been wanting you to do. Air energy. How do you make it real? Capricorn energy.
Yeah, and it's funny too that you say this, it's this minor thing, because I've got these 2 minor arcana cards, and they're really nice cards to have. They're actually really welcoming when you get these in a reading. Nice. And so the first one is the 2 of Cups, and it's again about reciprocity. So we had a 6, a 2, and a 6 again, and it's equal give and take. It's also, you know, this is we see this now in our medical system, this symbol, but it's also, it's based on our Kundalini energy. It's actually based on our chakras, and those snakes that go around it are the serpent fire. It's raising your vibration from the root chakra up. And that's what that symbol actually is, that got hijacked by wherever. But when you think about true essence of it, that's what it is. It's revitalizing energy. And it's the two people, or the two aspects of self, or you and your best friend, or you and your soulmate, or you and that thing that makes you complete. Less likely that in most cases, but it is also a possibility. And so there's that continuation of reciprocity. So I'm doing those daily things for myself, then it radiates outward to one person. Now I'm taking care of myself and all of my needs that we just saw. And now that's rippling out. Now I'm doing something for somebody else. It's not overextending. It's not exhaustion. It's not depletion. It's none of those things. It's not codependent. I'm doing things for other people. I'm not people please. It's not that. It's just now stuff is flowing. Now I'm giving, I'm receiving, I'm giving, I'm receiving. And it's this very loving energy. This is strength and health and vitality, and everything's nice and warm and cozy and equal. Okay, they're looking eye to eye here. They're seeing each other. It's what a lovely feeling when you see somebody who sees you.
Yes.
For that. And then there's also victory, because at the end of the day, you've done all your work and you pat yourself on the back, and then you start giving and receiving. Yes, a little applause would be nice from time to time, but it's not just about receiving the applause. It's also about giving the applause. You encourage the other people to do the things that they're doing. When you see people making that change, give them positive reinforcement.
Yes. Yes. And so we have to also remember that Mercury is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of the collective.
Yeah.
And this understanding that, again, we are much more connected than we've been led to believe. And I think that a lot of people know this, especially like in this type of community, right? But we're going to see that start sparking in people's heads outside of communities like this, because I think we're not going to have any other choice.
Yeah, and I think too that sort of the counterpoint to that is that sometimes people find it really easy to do the big picture thing. We're all connected. There's the brotherly love, the collective humanity, but then they forget about the individual part, and that thinking that in order for me to make an impact, I'm going to have to do this big thing in order to affect. No, it's like if each person did all those little things, then we've already solved the problem.
Exactly.
We don't have to be debilitated by going like, I can't do this. It's so insurmountable.
Right.
Because it's not just you. It's like you're doing your little thing, and the other person's also getting up, and everybody's doing their dishes, and everybody's paying their bills. And then you go back and forth and say, oh, you need me to shovel your driveway, or you need me to go, I'm going to the market, I'll pick, oh, thank you. And then it goes on, and then there's this sense of victory, like, look at what we've done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just a few days later, January 28th, Mercury retrograde, now in Capricorn, comes to a conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn at 26 degrees. If you recall, on January 16th, the sun already did this. It came together with Pluto in Capricorn at 26 degrees. So pay attention to what the sun, or pay attention to what unfolds for you personally on January 16th, because you're going to review it and revisit it come January 28th. The difference is that on the 16th, something is going to be illuminated. And on the 28th, you're going to decide, or at the very least, plan something to do about it. This is the action-oriented time. And so, and again, Capricorn energy, let's be very real. Let's be very realistic. Let's be grounded in what we need to do next.
Well, this is good. The Queen of Swords, I have 3 cards for this one. The Queen of Swords sits there comfortably and she's saying, come here. And I have a sword. So, okay. She's sometimes the bitchy queen, but it's also the no nonsense queen. So it's still receptive. Come here, come here. She's not out swinging swords left and right, you know, off with their head kind of thing, but ready to chop it down if it's not up to snuff. Really what it is. So there's that energy. Then I mentioned earlier how when we were talking about the King of Cups, how it's not the slowest energy in the tarot. This is, and you can see standing still. This is slow, steady progress again. And because it's a pentacle or a disc, it's earth sign energy. Slow, steady, whatever, but with a little bit of this. So it's not, this isn't complacent. This is those steady steps that you keep doing. But then it's like, while I'm taking those steady steps, I am becoming aware of what I still need to cut out. And this is, she's very analytical, firm boundaries, sharp-witted, sharp-tongued, you know, all those kind of things. It could be sarcastic, but it can be clear. There's no mincing of words with this queen. And the very nice card that's in between is the Wheel of Fortune.
Ooh.
So again, so much about fate and destiny and things coming full circle. It's a very fortunate time. So because there's so much here too about reciprocity and karma, you know, keep putting out, just make those little crumbs of effort consistently. It all comes back. This is super fortunate. And yeah, sometimes you have to be the bitchy queen, but it doesn't have to be mean or angry. It's just clear, decisive, definitive. You don't cut with a sword and, you know, it's done, it's sliced, it's severed, whatever it is, you know.
Right.
This is not tickling somebody with a feather, it's a sword.
Right.
Yeah. And yet she's still welcoming, it's still benevolent. It's just very definitive. And then this night too, it's a lot about loyalty. This is very kind energy. It's loyalty, determination, grounded energy. You can depend on this person. And then, you know, the Wheel of Fortune is just awesome to have between that. This is luck and being in the right place at the right time, and synchronicity and serendipity, and you create fortunate circumstances by no longer being the hermit, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, those 3 cards just really remind me of the queen being Venus in Capricorn and Capricorn energy. Venus, receptivity, but no nonsense. We are so past the nonsense. Like, we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest about this interaction. The card of the like consistent reliance really reminds me of Uranus and Taurus. And yes, Uranus disrupts, but Taurus energy reminds us that if you're grounded and just real about the situation, you can rely on honesty because it lets you know where you are. And the Wheel of Fortune is just Neptune and Pisces. It's like, it's faded energy. It's faded. We have to remember that Pluto is about digging up what was hidden. And Mercury, I would not be surprised if around this time we got like some surprising news, something else is uncovered, corruption, very much the messenger. And for us on a personal level, that can be a potential manifestation as well. Finding out news, finding something out that we didn't know. But like you said, it's not bad, because even if it hurts, the reality of the matter is that life sometimes is going to hurt. That's Capricorn energy. But wouldn't you rather know?
That's the thing.
That's the thing. The next day, on January 29th, Venus finally begins moving direct. Notice how we've gone through several days of like a crumbling and a dismantling of things. And then after all of that, Venus goes direct. So everything regarding value, self-worth, money, who, what deserves my time, energy, and effort, relationships, relationship to ourselves, all of these things that we have been thinking about for 40 days at this point, and everything that has dismantled before that, Venus moves direct and says, this is my value. This is what I'm grounded on. This is what I can count on. And so it begins to move direct, and it'll take some time for us to get adjusted to this new sense of grounding. But with everything that's happened in the 2 weeks prior to that, it's made clear that we need to stand in our own definition of value, and that we cannot continue letting outside forces determine that for us.
So we've got the card of deception, lies, deceit, trickery, deception.
Wow.
Yep. The trickster, whatever, however you want to look at this. Okay. We'll just leave that as what it is. But with that card, we have the High Priestess. So you will know, this is your intuition. This is like divine energy. There's usually a lot of moon symbolism in this as well. And so these, if somebody is doing this, if stuff is, this is like purposely being hidden. This is not like illusions. This is like stuff that's really been trying, you know, it can be on a collective level, on a global level, on a political level, you know, whatever. It can also be in your personal life. You know, people hiding things from you, or maybe you hiding things from other people.
Yes.
Maybe you deceiving yourself, like maybe you not wanting to, maybe you're telling yourself lies. But whatever it is, with this energy, this is like intuition trumping everything. This is intuition. It's just like, if you were trying to keep things hidden, they pop up. If, you know, whatever, if it's your government or your partner or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's there's really nothing you can do. It just becomes, it's almost like that. What was that thing about the 100th monkey or the 1000th monkey or whatever? It's like learning a new skill, and then on this little island, and then once it became common knowledge in the collective, another group of it came to their awareness as well. It's the
That's
same,
a good analogy. Yeah.
same kind of energy. It's like, it's not that somebody's going, did you know that?
No.
Kind of like, poof, oh, there, it's right out there. So not much we can do about it.
No.
More reason to tidy up stuff ahead of because you're not really, if you're the one being deceptive, then it's going to be out there. So yeah.
So we end the month with the sun squaring Uranus. The sun in Aquarius, creating a 90-degree angle to Uranus and Taurus. Remember, January 1st, sun trine Uranus, sun in Capricorn, trine Uranus and Taurus. Lean into this thing that you want to try out. Lean into doing things differently. But after everything January will show us, this is us saying, oh, I have to do things differently. If I was in denial, if I was resisting, everything is clear. Everything is clear. And just a few days after that, Mercury is going to go direct. So if you think like, oh, maybe I should wait a few more days to, no, it's just a few days after that. All of this all of this energy coincides. All of these cards, even though Susheela has picked them out for certain days, all of that energy is intertwined. So the sun squaring Uranus is a catalyst for change. Everything that's going to be uncovered by the Sun-Pluto conjunction, by the Mercury-Pluto conjunction at the same degree in Capricorn, that is going to make things so clear. That is the catalyst for the change.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just not going to be any room for denial. There might be some time for adjustment, which is what February is going to be for, but no more room for denial.
So I was contemplating how I was going to show you these cards, and I'm going to give you the bad news first. I'm going to work backwards, and it's not bad news, but I'm saying it like that because it's kind of funny. So the final card out of these three is the Tower. Okay, so there you go. Everything you just wrapped up with, there's a Tower. It's coming down. And what's coming out of the Tower is actually the Lovers. It's typically the Lovers coming out of this. And so we've got everything. We've got fire and flames and lightning and all that stuff. It's like, you want to rebuild, we have to knock it down in order to do that. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So that was the final card that came up to wrap up this month. But the first card that came up is the Three of Pentacles. And it's often about teamwork, and you're part of a group, a collective. It's your work, it's your environment, and everybody's doing their part. But it's also about endings, and it's about neatly wrapping up those endings. So you're leaving a job, you're leaving a way of thinking, you've just come to this realization, and you've totally exposed yourself in an authentic and vulnerable way. How do you wrap up all those things? That's this card. It's just like, okay, sweep it up, put it away, take the swords out of my back, do the whatever, the secrets are out, how, other people's secrets, whatever it is. How do I deal with it? Put it all away, put it in its place. I know now, I can't unknow it. There it is, neat and tidy. Okay. The very interesting card in the middle is the Lovers. So, okay, there they are. So the Lovers, this can be, so we had the Two of Cups, and we had the Six of Cups, and we have the Lovers. We don't have the 10 of Cups. We have the 10 of Pentacles. So when we talk about relationships, the 10 of Pentacles is really in that practical sense. It's about the legacy that you leave behind, or the hereditary things, the inheritance, and what gets passed on. What do you leave behind? What was left behind for you? With the Lovers, this is very immediate kind of energy. And there is often a choice with the Lovers. It can represent this or that, either or. But when we think about our relationships with people, because it's a very relationship-y kind of month going on, a relationship with self and everything, they are open and vulnerable as they are, as authentic as they can be, although they're posing. They're like, ta-da, here I am. This is what you get. And they have the blessing of this divine, angelic thing.
Yep.
So, as you said, you don't really have a choice. Boom, it's all coming down.
Yeah.
Wrapped up, and it's getting wrapped up neat and tidy. So you might as well grab a broom, and many hands make light work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a month that, it's every January is known as the month of setting intentions, making a list of goals, all of those things. But the cosmos are really going to make sure that we don't revert back to, again, the same way of doing things. And they're going to make things so clear that it's like, okay, I get it. I get it. And again, it's like, wouldn't we rather know? Wouldn't we rather know? And there's one of the fundamentals, if you will, of spirituality is simplicity. And sometimes things need to crumble down for us to get to the essence and simplicity of being in order to genuinely function from a much more genuine place within.
Exactly. And it's like I said, practice your authenticity, you know.
Practice your authenticity. Yes.
Carry it on, you know. People are so not used to being themselves, really. They don't even know who they are.
Right. Right.
They're no longer the kids saying, I want to be a ballet dancer. I want to be middle management.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that becomes your identity.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we're shedding those identities off completely. We're shedding them.
So, as you know, I always pull these cards after. It's this, it's called the Spirit Oracle. And they're just these random whatever cards. The card that came out is this, Patience.
Ooh.
Okay. And it says, it's so funny. You are entering a time of great love and peace. Be patient and allow the current storm to clear. Resurrection. All your words mentioned. Okay. I don't think we mentioned that one.
No.
Okay. So no more wounds, and, you know, our 10 of Swords in our back end of the thing. No more wounds, only love predicted for the future. Fated, it's predicted. That's it. We're moving into that era. We're moving into that age. So clean it up, tidy up the mess, allow, you know, be receptive, do your work. Even if it feels insignificant, do it happily, create that positive energy. Yeah.
Commit to yourself. Keep promises to yourself. And that will create momentum. That will increment things in the long run. And you will no longer need to seek anyone else's validation when you know that you're showing up for yourself consistently. And that's what we're trying to get to. That's what the cosmos have been really creating all this stuff and dwindling it down back to the self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So thank you, everyone. Once again, Happy New Year. Obviously, we'll be here next month, and we hope that this is helpful to you.
Yeah, great. Happy New Year, everybody.